Hi, welcome to the Libertarian Alternative. My name is Mark Selzer, and the Libertarian Alternative is an educational television show brought to your community as a courtesy by the Libertarian Party. Thanks for watching. Today's guest is the author of this book, Jonathan Gullible. It's a wonderful book, one of the most famous, I think, libertarian books. His name is Ken Schooland. I've been hearing about this book since I entered the libertarian movement many years ago. What is your background, and how did you end up writing this book?
Oh, thanks a lot, Mark. I'm a teacher. I'm an associate professor of economics and political science at Hawaii Pacific University, and I got interested in this approach to writing and to libertarian ideas back around 1980, believe it or not. I was asked to do some radio commentaries at an all-news business radio station in Hawaii. And I was giving commentaries that didn't draw much attention, just straight economics, and it didn't appeal very much. But then finally, I had a girlfriend at the time that I wanted to kind of involve with the recordings that I was doing. And I had just read The Little Prince and Gulliver's Travels, and realized that very important and profound ideas don't have to be complicated. They could be very simple and straightforward in an entertaining way that really reaches a lot more people. So I started doing these little dialogues, fantasy dialogues on the radio station, 90-second spots. And instantly, the listener response all around town really picked up. And so I knew I was onto something fun. If I could just use satire, like people throughout history have done, to kind of poke fun at official policies and authority figures. And it really worked well. It was later produced as a dramatic series. Since each episode originated as 90 seconds, it was perfect for a chapter. So we've got 40 chapters now in the book. And we produced it as a radio drama up in Alaska when I was living up there for a little bit too. Now it's been broadcast on stations up in Alaska and here and in California too. I think one group had asked for some permission to use it. We have it up on our website, jonathangullible.com, that people can download the episodes, audio or the scripts. They can do them as their own if they like. And as a matter of fact, we have the whole UK commentary edition in the book on the website as well.
What are some of these stories? Is there one you can tell?
Yeah, sure. One that I open up with, Jonathan Gullible has been stranded like in Gulliver off in
so this is
some strange
a story
island.
To get people to understand economics rather than a boring lecture.
That's right. It's known as The Adventures of Jonathan Gullible, a free market odyssey. And well, he's stranded on this beach of this remote Pacific island that he's gotten tossed to after this storm, and he climbs up the hillside and comes across a trail. And there's a group of men dragging this woman down the trail, and they brush him aside, and she's screaming for help. So he realizes he can't do anything by himself, so he thinks he's going to go up the trail and find somebody else to help him to rescue this woman. He gets up to this clearing, and in the clearing are all these men standing around trees beating the tree trunks with sticks. And he goes up to the guy that seems to be in charge, the supervisor, and says, well, help me quick, this woman's being dragged away by these burly men. Help me go and rescue her. And the supervisor very nonchalantly says, well, no, she's been arrested. Well, what could she be arrested for? You know, to Jonathan, she doesn't seem like she could be a criminal because she wouldn't be screaming for help. And he says, oh yes, well, she threatened all the jobs of these men here. What? How can this woman be threatening the jobs of all these men? Oh, well, you know, as you can see, these men earn a living by knocking down trees with sticks. And so, you know, all of these men, well, it can take about 100 men a whole month to knock down a good-sized tree. And you know what she did this morning? She came to work with a sharp metal piece attached to the end of this stick. And she, all by herself, in half an hour, knocked down a tree all by herself. Well, clearly she had to be arrested. All these men would be out of work. And Jonathan is puzzled. He says, no, wait a minute, you know, these men, if they were more efficient in knocking down the trees, then they could do other things with their time. They could make tables and chairs and boats and houses and so on. Oh, the purpose of work in this society is not to have goods and services for people. It's to have fixed and secure and unchanging employment. And then Jonathan starts to feel a little uncomfortable, and he takes off for his next adventure.
Wow, so this is could you add to these stories in these little vignettes?
Yeah, it has grown. Originally it was just 33 episodes, and now it's up to 40.
Wow.
And I mean, there's nothing to keep us from expanding it to, because the
Right.
government just keeps giving us good material to work with all
They
the time.
do, yes. It reminds me a little bit of Anthem by Ayn Rand,
Very much so, yeah.
which is one of my favorite books. But she's a little bit of a heavy read, I think, for a lot of people.
Well,
These are
Anthem
stories
was a
that-
good way to get introduced to her.
Yeah.
I read that first before, when I was a kid in high school, I think.
I think these stories are just great for kids. Are these out on a CD or anything like that?
Well, on the website, jonathangullible.com, you can download these to your computer.
This is a
That's
free.
a good idea, because I've been thinking for the longest time I need to sit down at a little radio studio and do a narration of the whole story and put it on a cassette tape that people can put on their, listen in their car when they're stuck in traffic or something like that.
And give to kids, too.
Yeah, sure.
So you can learn about it, right out of the, right from the get-go. Understand a little bit about economics. It really helps you in business. I know that it helped me in business, understanding a little economics. And then also at jonathangullible.org or com.
Jonathangullible.com.
But this is a nonprofit educational organization?
Well, we
perhaps?
haven't made much of a profit off of it, no,
It's
so I
not-
guess you could say it's
nonprofit by
nonprofit so
default.
far.
And then there's this fairly famous cartoon that, unfortunately, the artist that did this has passed away, correct?
That's right. Kerry Pearson liked so much the epilogue from the book that he wanted to put it to flash animation. And he completed this. It's in 4 languages, English, Spanish, French, and Portuguese. Then he passed away, sadly, of diabetes a year and a half ago. But we now have it re-engineered. We're ready to add Dutch and Danish and German and Chinese and Japanese to it. So
This is a wonderful cartoon. This is a great introduction to libertarian thought, and I suggest anyone out there watching this go to this website and watch it. It's free. It's wonderful. It's called The Philosophy of Liberty. It's a wonderful little book, and this is at www.jonathangullible.com. Gullible.com. And this is there as well. And then this is also on some other places on the internet, on the International Society for Individual Liberty. And you were a founding member of this organization?
Not exactly founding, but near. I joined it in 1977 or so, and I was fascinated with the fact that this was one organization. Then it was called Libertarian International. And they wanted to take libertarian literature, which seemed to be boiling up a lot here in the United States, get it into other languages, and send it abroad.
Right.
And I was fascinated with the idea. As a matter of fact, then as soon as I could, once this was published by Small Business Hawaii, this book, The Adventures of Jonathan Gullible, if I may turn your attention to the back of the book here, it shows...
here's a whole bunch of versions in different languages. It's wonderful.
That's right. It's in 35 languages now. The most recent to come out just last week was the Bengali edition, and a month before that, the Farsi edition. Believe it or not, the mullahs in Iran, one of the most economically repressed countries in the world, gave approval to this free market book because, well, it's just a kid's satire. But it's a way of getting around censors. And someday, eventually, after getting it accepted into schools in Iran and Kenya, and I eventually hope that ultimately I'll be able to get it into Hawaii schools.
Oh, wonderful. See, well, it's a basic textbook. It's just a tell. I don't know if you want to, but can you tell another story from Jonathan Gullible? That'd be wonderful.
Well, there's another one.